Hello, I'm Charles Thompson and I'm at the Trispace Gallery in Bermondsey, London, which is run by Mark Bean, and he is currently hosting a show of paintings by Jasmine Surreal and her toy cats. And the show is called Fantasy Reality. So I'm going to take a little tour, and I have a vested interest here. I arranged the show, curated it and hung the paintings, so I'm very fond of these, but I'm not the only person who is. She's been praised by, amongst others, Edward Lucy Smith and Bevis Hillier, who are both fans of her work. So let's see where we start. We actually start with a rather fetching curtain here, which is adding to a bit of the glamour. And the first painting, curiously, is of a ghost painting, an Elizabethan ghost, which happens to be the previous life of the ghost. So this is not just a ghost that exists in one form, it's a ghost that has different forms. You can see the Victorian ghost at the top, the Elizabethan ghost, and Jasmine's work is full of plays on reality, inversions, reversions, puns, turning things inside out and upside down, making things visible which we wouldn't normally think of as being visible. For example, here we have hot and cold personified. Here we have night and day personified, and here we have Jasmine after she's been shopping at the Primark clothing store in Oxford Street. Oh dear. Right, I'm going to go onto the other wall, which again has the lovely cerise curtain, a little bit of information about the show. There's a rather nice text by Edward Lucy Smith, who says, Jasmine Surreal has a unique, wholly self-created artistic personality. And there's her with one of her toy cats. The first painting on this wall is nothing like the ones we've seen at all. It's actually part of the London Tube map, called a tuberculosis map, from tube to tuberculosis, I hate London, and it has things like Kilburn, Kill, Belsize Nark instead of Belsize Park. Oh, we better move on from that one quickly. So there you go, someone who doesn't like London, doesn't like the tube, probably a lot of people can identify with that. So moving along this wall, we've got a variety of things. There's Steve Allen, who's a comedian from the 60s and 70s, I believe, self-portrait with grandfather, a pregnant baby. And this is one of my favourites here. It's called, I'm not quite sure what it's called, but what it actually is Jelly Man, Letter Man and Y Front Man. So there's three different people here who are kind of acting out roles. The Letter Man, it seems to be being submerged in bills. And the others, what are they doing there? I don't know. We have the sun and moon as well. There's a series of self-portraits. This one is done for a tarot pack, a Stuckist artist tarot pack, which was organised by Elsa Dax with Ali Garou. And this is card number 2, which I think is the princess. So that's rather beautiful. The faces changing from cat to human. The next one, I think, is exquisitely beautiful. It's a portrait of the artist with a toy cat. The colours are lovely. The mood is, like a lot of her paintings, actually quite tranquil, slightly wistful if anything, perhaps wanting a toy cat to be a real cat, or a human cat or something. But the colours are absolutely lovely, you can see close up. And she has a very good way of painting fur from a technical point of view. It feels and looks like fur. So that's this first room here we've just been looking at. And let's move on to, I suppose this is the main room. There's three sort of sections in this part of the gallery where the show is, and this is the centre one. And it's got a centrepiece, which is this painting. So the biggest painting, actually there's two this size, but so far it's the biggest painting we've looked at. It's called Mugged. And I did talk about puns. Here's a man who's been mugged, and he is literally made of mugs. His head is a mug, and his shoulders are mugs. And his legs are mugs. So in a way this seems to hold everything together. It's like, almost like sort of question, sort of slightly disconcerted. It's like, what's going on? What do we make of it all? Why am I like I am? And I don't think it's sort of saying too much that this is actually a kind of a strong undercurrent in the work. There's fun, there's certainly humour. Jasmine's got a very strong sense of humour. But there's also something disquieting in a number of the works. We'll come on to something which is quite violent in due course. Even the sort of quiet ones, it's almost like a sense of things not being in their proper place. Everything is changed to something else. Partly to avoid boredom, I think. Partly to test it out. And partly because it's impossible to accept things as they are, at least by this artist. Everything in life is in some way dissatisfying, so it has to be transformed. Let's take a look. Well, again, a painting I'm very fond of. I had sex with a flower man. That's the flower man there, the lucky man, and they give birth to the flower child here. So that's kind of the artist as a fairy with the flower man. Almost bits of classic surrealism there, one might say. There's grammar woman whose head is made of, or hair is full of punctuation marks. Even her fingernails have punctuation marks. There's a lot of detail in the work which you might easily miss. For example, down here, right in the corner, not sure what that is, more exclamation marks by the look of it, but it's just a small part of the painting. But it's quite good fun to go up close. There's a man with a vase on his head, and in the vase is another man with a vase on his head. It's an older work. Well, I suppose it's about 4 years old. This is more recent, last few months. One that Bevis Hillier was particularly fond of, the idea of the guitar playing the man. Here we have the guitar's head with the eye, and there's the man who's become the instrument which the guitar is happily strumming. He likened it to the sort of wit of Oscar Wilde, turning things on its head. Well, here we have Easel Man, which is a very similar theme, the idea of the person becoming the object. Here we have Spider Bunny, which looks kind of very much like me, and also Tank Flower. I think it's because I've got an interest in military history, and Jasmine decided to paint me as a plant with tanks. So I guess that's kind of flattering. Let's look at the last wall in this centre section. What should we do? Start at this end. Tiny painting, 4 inches square. But even so, there's just little details like the star with the tail, the cat's tail up in the corner. And this is Misty Cat. I think lovely colours. The cat's very commanding. I think if one saw this without knowing its size, it would be easy to think it was a much bigger painting. Very delicately done, the colours, the fur, the shading. Also a very nice painting, slightly bigger, but not much, only about 8 inches square. Glamourpuss. And it's worth looking at this fur here. It becomes quite real. And again, the little details up in the hat. We have another cat perched up there. And she's very fond of putting these things in, little things that you might not notice at all. Have some more cat paintings. There's a cat. This is actually based on a real cat. Most of the paintings so far have been based on toy cats. This is based on a real cat, and it's showing the cat in as a fish plant. Cat heaven. Here's a cat as a spaceman, and I talked about puns. We literally have flying saucers. There we go. Flying saucers full of milk, of course, because that's what cats are like. Little fish here in the top, coming out of the cat's head. 3 eyes. Again, the attention to the fur. And right down the bottom, small details. Oh, I didn't even notice that before. A little cat. Here's a sort of bigger pun, I guess, based on the TV programme which started in black and white, I'm not sure if it was the 50s or 60s, called What's My Line, where you have to guess the contestant's occupation, and now it's turned into What's My Feline. The next section is very different. So far what we've seen is paintings by Jasmine Surreal, but the show is paintings by Jasmine Surreal and her toy cats, and the next section is paintings by her toy cats. Well, we've had paintings by animals and by cats, real ones. As far as I know, this may well be a world first, paintings by toy cats. She has 2 main toy cats, Pajita, who's grey and a bit aggressive, and Aurora, who's blonde and more refined. And Jasmine has a channel on YouTube with lots of videos involving these cats, but they also paint pictures. How you can, might well ask, does a toy cat paint a picture? Okay, she does help them, but their furry toy paws are actually on the brush, and she holds the paws there. So it's making, and then she helps them to paint the picture, but it's... she says it's not her. She is kind of channeling the soul, the spirit of the toy cat. And the paintings are very different. I mean, you'll see that as soon as we go in here. Let's take a look at the announcement here. Paintings by the toy cats Pajita and Aurora. This is the cat Pajita, who's more aggressive. And this is the one that's the blonde one I mentioned, is Aurora, who's a bit more refined, trying a big brush out there, perhaps a little bit too big. So we'll take a look at Pajita's paintings first. As I say, this is the more aggressive cat, and Pajita is God. Because artists think they're God, so she's painted herself as God. This is a painting of the stuffiest surrealist artist, Jonathan Kudrill, or Pajita's self-portrait as Jonathan Kudrill, because the cats tend to paint themselves as somebody else. This is on YouTube. There's a video showing the whole thing being painted. So if you look at a Pergita, which is P-E-R-S-I-T-A, and Coudrille, C-O-U-D-R-I-L-L-E, if you search for that on YouTube, you'll see that painting being done, and that's a video that I made. Let's go along and look at more of Pergita. This is Dave Grohl, the musician, who I think was the drummer in Nirvana, and is now in another band whose name escapes me temporarily. Here we have a t-shirt ripping up a person called Charles, which curiously happens to be the same name as me. Apparently Charles ripped up a t-shirt, which is weird because that's what I did as well at one point, and now the t-shirt's ripping up this Charles character. Ah, good Lord! I hope it's not me. I think it is. Okay, what on earth do we have here? Goodness gracious me. This is not what you think, honest. It's art. In fact, there's a label that proves it. It says, "Please do not touch," so it must be art. It's an installation by Pergita, and it's called "This Is Not Cat Poo." Should be in the Tate. Definitely. I see Sir Nicholas Sirota shelling out £20,000. Now, yes, I did talk about the more violent side of things. That doesn't come out so much in Jasmine's work, but it does in Pergita's. Something is released. There's a piano being smashed up. There is Pergita striding across the cityscape and chopping off all Jasmine's abusers' heads. Dum 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 dum. And here we have "Mummy is the root of all evil." Told you there were puns. And apparently this painter by Pergita has gone to town here. Actually, claw marks ripping into the canvas. Lots of blood. And a figure which I presume is Mummy. Now, apparently, actually, I sent this or showed it to Mark D, who's also a Stuckist artist, and he didn't like the rips for some reason, which surprised me greatly, but Pergita was very offended and so went on, and this is the latest painting done just before the show by Pergita. It's the biggest one he's ever done, and it's called "Mark D Doesn't Like Rips in Painting," so here's a painting of Mark D with rips in it. There's 4 Mark Ds. There he is, with a pineapple head, perhaps referring to his kind of interesting hairstyle. And the rips, there's rips in here, like no one's seen rips before. And even better up here, there's some great rips. Seems to be like a, what's this, a hair hanging down, if you can see that. So, this is Pergita, Revenge on Mark D. Let's take a look at the more gentle paintings of Aurora, and they're on this wall. Aurora as Nancy Sinatra. Aurora self-portrait as Grace Kelly. And one I particularly like, a pun which led to a painting, Aurora Borealis. I think we'll finish with this painting, which is flowers and aeroplanes. It's quite beautiful. Like all the cat paintings, it has a kind of instant, kind of painterly spontaneous, crude element to it, but also skilled to be able to do that and pull it off. It looks as though, there we go. I thought that was just a vase of flowers, but there's a cat lurking in the middle of it. And there's the aeroplanes scattering the flowers. Looks as though the propellers are actually shearing them off and are all cascading down to the ground. So, this is it. Here we have fantasy reality, paintings by Jasmine Surreal and her toy cats. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you very much.